Hi everyone, it's Liam here from Rating the Races. So if you're a Premium or Pro member, I'm just going over the same horses that I talked about earlier on in the week. If you're a free member, this will be the first time you're seeing these selections that I like for Saturday. Free members, again, you'll see this on Saturday, so it's today. Premium members and Pro members, these are for tomorrow. So Cheltenham may have been and gone by this time, but there are certainly some horses that I still like for the National Hunt season. And I think a few of these that we're going to look at today, I thought could have ended up at the Cheltenham Festival. And I do want to be on them. You'll know a lot of them. I've spoken about them many a time in different videos as well. Still really keen on them, to be honest. Starting off in the 2 mile 2 Novices Handicap Chase at Cheltenham. Featuring, Novices Handicap Chase at Kempton, featuring First Street. Now, I really like First Street. I think the horse is very capable, I think it's very talented. I just don't think Nicky Henderson's actually done a great job with the horse. I was disappointed that he wasn't at Cheltenham. I thought he could have been in the Grand Annual. I thought he could have been in the 2.5 Novice. I thought he could have been in the County Hurdle. I mean, the County Hurdle was one that was like, I was really surprised, to be honest. We've got to remember, in 2022, this horse finished second in the County Hurdle behind Stateman off a mark of 142. If he'd gone back this year, would have only been running off 136, a £6 lower mark than when finishing second to Stateman. It looked obvious to me, as did the Grand Annual, really. I mean, the fact that we liked the horse off 136 over hurdles, if it got in a chase over a handicap chase, it was only running off 128. So maybe this is where they can take advantage off this 128 mark. It's not the best novice handicap chase. It's not got the greatest of runners either. It's only got, 6 in it. And personally, I only think there's one to beat in Asta La Pasta. But Asta La Pasta is somewhat inconsistent, somewhat frustrating, and isn't really... Asta La Pasta has been as high as 132. This is the best he's been. But hasn't really demonstrated to me that he could be winning multiple races off this sort of mark. Yes, he finished second at Kempton a few runs ago for him, behind Leader in the Park, and First Street was back in fourth. There wasn't a huge amount between them that day. First Street is also £4 better off with Asta La Pasta. And First Street was given a ride that day as on, do we really get 2.5 mile at Kempton? I thought he was given a very gentle ride, to be honest. Tomorrow, there's no reason to be holding this horse back anymore. If they were looking at a race at the Cheltenham Festival, that's been and gone. They might as well kick on now. They just don't need to be as far back. If they're not as far back, if they're a length behind Asta La Pasta for most of the race, I think First Street wins this. I think he wins it quite comfortably. I really do like First Street. He does also have a course win to his name, which is a real positive, obviously. And it's his second time after a wind-up. There's no real negatives. Even some of his efforts over hurdles were pretty good. When he was third, for example, behind Rabaul and Too Friendly, in front of So Royale at Kempton. He's got some really nice Kempton form. He's potentially thrown in here. He has won a handicap hurdle over at Kempton off 132. He only runs here off 128. I really like him, to be honest. And I actually think he should be favourite. He's not currently. He is now being supported, unsurprisingly. Obviously, hopefully some of you have got on at slightly better odds because he was available at 7-2, was comfortably available. He's flicking between 4s as well. I do like First Street for this race, and I think he will beat Asta La Pasta tomorrow at Kempton. Moving on to the second race, which we're going to stick at Kempton. We're going to do 3 at Kempton and 3 at Uttoxeter. Second race at Kempton. Who do I like here? It is Aston Martini. This one, as you know, I've been a massive fan of, and I've been backing her in every race at the Cheltenham Festival, and she's not got in any. She has been, we've done them all non-runner, no bet, so we get all of our money back on those. I really like this horse, particularly over this slightly bit further, this 2 mile 5 trip. 2 mile 5, as you know, I don't really think works out as 2 mile 5 at Kempton. It's more of 2 mile 2, maybe. That's probably just going to be far enough for Aston Martini. They just need to be a little bit more positive on her as well. She has some really nice form, including that last mount effort behind Altobelli. It obviously, that form worked out well because Altobelli went back to Ascot and won again off a £5 higher mark and went up another £10. So if Aston Martini and Altobelli reopposed, Altobelli would be up 15, Aston Martini would be up 3. Okay, they're not reopposing, but that just shows how unlucky Aston Martini was to bump into an Altobelli that was so well handicapped. I don't think there's anything in this that is so well handicapped. I think Double Powerful's done a lot of his winning. Similarly, I think Sant'Annapolini has done a lot of his winning. They've all gone up in a handicap, whereas Aston Martini is so lightly raced. I think she's really progressive, and I think she can win this. And we'll get that win in Aston Martini. Not quite at the odds that we were backing her at Cheltenham, you know, the likes of 25s and 33s for different races, but you can still get 5s. Interestingly, hopefully people have been keeping an eye on these races, as I did talk about this a little while ago. Bet365 got it completely wrong. They initially opened at 10s. There was 13-2 and 6s available at William Hill. That's now all gone as well. Into 5s. I think she might even go off. I think she might go off favourite, to be honest. I really like her for this race. Final one at Kempton. We have made a decision. We were talking about 2 in this race. I did kind of lean towards 1 at the time in our early analysis video. Sticking with that one. It's Bad. Bad over Phlegmatic. So if we go to the odds, let's have a little look. They're actually 7-2 joint favourites. I think both of them are going to run really big races. However, I just feel that Bad might be a little bit more progressive. Bad is only a 6-year-old, has finally got his act together. They've worked out, hopefully, what to do when winning last time out over course and distance. That, I think, is key. I've always had Bad as being a horse with plenty of potential, and that 125 mark was never going to be right. Eventually, it's something that's going to click. It did, and yes, the horse went up £9 for winning at Kempton. That's not ideal. However, I kind of feel 134 is where we would have expected Bad to be at this point in his career. At the beginning of the season, we thought he could have won a couple of races by now. The danger for me is Phlegmatic, who does look well handicapped off 130. The problem for me is I don't think he wants this trip. I think he wants a bit further. And I think he kind of demonstrated that at Kempton 2 runs ago in a race with El Rio and Triple Trade just in front of Galop de Chasse and Isideri. He went forward, went off the 2-1 favourite for a mark of 130, travelled really well, didn't find anything. Doesn't have the speed to pick up right near the finish when needed. Whereas I think Bad will have already gone. Phlegmatic might be running him down, but I don't think he's quite going to get there. I'm convinced that horse needs 3 miles. Still not sure why they didn't come back for that Coral Trophy handicap chase at Kempton in February. It's probably another race that they've missed, the Skeltons. So Bad is my selection here at 7-2, and I'm hopeful of a very big run there from Bad. Off to Uttoxeter for the first race that we're going to talk about is the 225, the lucrative 52 grand to win this at 3 mile handicap hurdle. It's an obvious one. We've been on it a couple of times, or keeping an eye out a couple of times. It's Joya Machan. Available at 9-2 at the moment. I don't think that's a bad price, to be honest. He looks like he's been crying out for this 3 mile trip on both of his runs recently for Dan Skelton. He's had 4 runs for Dan Skelton. He tried him over 2 mile initially, and I feel that they were going, we've got a well handicapped horse here, let's look after him. They went to Cheltenham for a grade 2. He was never going to get involved there, was he? Then they ran him over 2 mile 3 at Wetherby and Ascot. Both occasions stayed on really strongly to the line. He's gone up £3 since both of those 2 efforts. But again, the form is really strong. Beaten by Mr. Bramley at Wetherby. Mr. Bramley has come out and finished a close second since, and then beaten by Altabelli, who'd come back to that race, having beaten one of our other selections on tomorrow, Aston Martini. Had the course and distance form, and that horse went up £10 for that. Was it £10? Yeah, it went up £10 for that. Joya Machan only went up 2. They won this race last year, the Skeltons, with Gwenny May Boy, who went on to Aintree and won again at Aintree. I think there's so many positives about Joya Machan. I'd be disappointed if he doesn't get this 3-mile trip. They can wait out the back, and if this 3-mile trip is perfect, he could win this very, very impressively, to be honest. His 135 mark may be significantly too low. He's 92 at the moment. Yeah, I really like him. It's very interesting as well that Harry's gone here. Harry's gone here to ride Joya Machan, I'm sure. Moving on to the 3 o'clock at Uttoxeter, which is the Midlands National. We do already have a selection in this. It's a little bit weak in the market, to be fair. I was a little bit surprised at that. I thought it would have been a well-supported horse. If anything, you can get that 20s at Ladbrokes. That's the sort of price I think is about fair, 12s and 14s, for Angler's Crag, that is. Yeah, I like Angler's Crag. Obviously whipped around at the start last time and unseated, didn't run. His 4-mile form, though, is pretty good. And as I mentioned in my early analysis video, it was the way he was ridden at Edinburgh, in the Edinburgh National, that I think cost him any chance and why he got beat by 23 lengths. Henry Brook rode it like he was way out the back, and then with about a mile to go, rapidly made ground. You know, almost sprinted from right out the back to banging contention, and then lost ground again, you know, drifted away. That's not how you ride a 4-mile race. You creep them into it. You slowly get there sort of thing. Rather than the way he was ridden at Musselburgh. And I'm hoping that they do the slowly but surely effort this time at Uttoxeter. Yes, maybe they weren't trying in the Edinburgh National. That race was only worth 40 grand. This is actually worth 90 to win this. Maybe they were looking at getting the horse dropped a couple of pounds. He only dropped £1 for that. Does mean he's only £4 higher than when winning a Ida Chase. You would give a horse that, a horse who's only £4 higher, a great chance. He went off 11-2 that day for the Ida. This time last year, he came into it off the back of, December, January, February. He won 4 consecutive races last year. Hasn't quite done that this year. Obviously, he's off higher marks. Maybe this is the time to catch him, though. And I'm expecting a big run from Angler's Crag, who is right up here. Obviously, this is alphabetical order. And finally, the last horse that I want to talk about in the 335 at Uttoxeter is another one for the Skeltons. It's Deafening Silence. I really like this horse. I think he is very progressive. I thought he bumped into one in Heracles Westwood. Or granted, that form hasn't quite worked out. That said, you could argue the horse he beat, or was beaten by, Heracles Westwood, that form hasn't worked out. However, Mare Town also ran in the race, and that form has worked out. I thought he then went to Warwick and won a Novice Chase that was just getting experience. Yes, he was actually getting weight from a horse, so probably ran slightly below his best, or destroyed the evidence, ran above himself. Back into a handicap, back off this 133 mark. I liked him at Windsor. I thought he did everything right and just got beat by a very well handicapped horse that day. I still believe he's well handicapped. Deafening Silence. Goes to Uttoxeter. Good prize money for this race. The Skeltons have come here. Harry's on board. I think he'll run a massive race, to be honest. I think if I was to do my nap next best and third best for tomorrow, let's have a little look what we're going to do. My nap is going to be Aston Martini, I think. My next best is going to be Joya Machan. And my third best will be First Street. So that's who I'll be doing in the nap competition. We've just started the Triumph Hurdle, so let's go and watch that.